The Greeks put a lot of thought into how life should be lived, from Aristotle to Socrates to Plato. But one of their most practical philosophies remains misunderstood by the majority of people: Stoicism. Despite Stoicism's undisturbed reputation for being synonymous with emotionlessness, it can actually lead to an incredibly satisfying way of life. Stoicism is a very old philosophy that can be practiced by anyone to increase their happiness. Many ideas you may already practice in your daily interactions. The primary goal of ancient Stoicism was to figure out the best way to live. As modern philosopher Lawrence Becker writes, its central organizing concern is about what one ought to do or be to live well, to flourish. And this question of how to live is perhaps humanity's most enduring, becoming especially acute in ages in which a sense of shared meaning has atrophied and every individual is left to find meaning on his own. Stoicism's answers, its fundamental tenets, what many modern writers and thinkers have deemed the art of living, thus feel just as relevant now as they did a couple thousand years ago. The Stoics' central focus in life was to simply be virtuous, of good character. It is a vision of maintaining a rational persona, ensuring an excellent mental state. This mental state is the only thing that really matters in order to survive well as a human being, and without making a conscious effort to preserve it, could mean never being truly happy. The focus must be inward rather than outwards. Seems logical, but how truly mindful are we? We are led into a false belief that by owning material possessions, we gain more pure approval, and therefore exercise a consumerist attitude stemming from luxury rather than need, directly feeding the media that we daily criticize. Idea number 1. Amor fati. Learn to love your fate. My formula for human greatness is amor fati. The one wants nothing to be different. Not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity. Not only to endure what is necessary, still less to conceal it. All idealism is falseness in the face of necessity, but to love it. Friedrich Nietzsche. The Stoics were not only familiar with this attitude, but they embraced it. 2,000 years ago, writing in his own personal journal, which would become known as Meditations, Emperor Marcus Aurelius would say, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." Another Stoic, Epictetus, who as a crippled slave has faced adversity after adversity, echoed the same. Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happen the way it happens. Then you will be happy. Yes, it's a little unnatural to love things we never wanted to happen in the first place. What might we learn from this unchosen experience? What good, equally unexpected events might result from it? We know that in retrospect, we often look back at difficult times fondly, almost wistfully, so we might as well feel that now. That is not to say that the good will always outweigh the bad. Still, embrace all of it. Don't wish for it to be any different. You don't have to like it to work with it, to use it to your advantage. Amor fati, a love of what happens, because that's your only option. Idea number 2, memento mori. Remember that you will die. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. Seneca. We live in a pretty death-averse culture. At large, we're terribly afraid of it. The Stoics would argue, though, that if you've lived a life of purpose and meaning, you shouldn't have any fear of something that has naturally befallen each and every human being and every other living creature since time immemorial. Now, meditating on your own death is not the same as asking something like, if you knew this was your last day on Earth, what would you do? In that scenario, I'd play video games, eat a ton of nasty but bad for you food, drink a lot of alcohol, stay up all night, etc. Those aren't things you can do on a daily basis, though. Rather, the question is more like, if you don't wake up in the morning, would you be satisfied with how your last day was spent? Did you engage fully at work? Did you give 120%? Did you love your family and your friends? Did you add to society's greater good at all? Did you make virtuous decisions? As you go through the day, reflect on your activities and decisions, both the good and the bad. If this day was your last, would you be satisfied with its outcome? What would you have done differently? How would you have changed your interactions with others? How can you use this information to make better decisions and engage in more worthwhile activities tomorrow? Make it actionable. As the Stoics themselves would have asked, what good is philosophy if there's no impact on how we live day to day? Idea number 3. Picture your life without the things you love. Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours. Marcus Aurelius. With time, we all realize that wanting more leads to dissatisfaction. So how do we find happiness? The key lies in gratitude. We must appreciate all that we have and find joy in it. We live in an incredible period of history with easy access to necessities and technology that provides a standard of living that was unforeseeable just a few generations ago. Instead of appreciating this, we take it for granted. One Stoic idea is to imagine that you lost some of your valuable possessions. It may sound depressing initially, but by imagining these losses, we come to appreciate what we have more. It's imperative that we not put too much necessity on the things we have either, for they may not always be there. Being a Stoic means finding happiness through whatever you do have. If you place emphasis on an external item and it is taken away, the Stoics should not be upset, but rather grateful that they had the object to begin with. Everything is borrowed from the universe. Mass comes and goes, but goodness remains, and therein lies joy. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content.